A Brisbane cyclist who was run down and badly injured in a shocking road incident has praised a national push for safer overtaking laws. Queensland was the first state to trial the rule almost 2 years ago. And while the results of its effectiveness are yet to be revealed, motoring and cycling groups agree enforcement and education are key.
Sean Harrison captured the disturbing footage on cameras attached to his helmet. The car gets dangerously close to the bike, then the Brisbane cyclist hits the road. He lashes out at the person who he believes deliberately knocked him off his bike.
I'm allowed to be on the road, I'm allowed to be in the lane, that is not a bike lane over there.
The incident happened 4 years ago, but Sean Harrison lives with constant reminders, pain from a broken back and nerve damage to one leg. The driver wasn't charged and police weren't shown the video at the time, but the former competition cyclist did get compensation. Were you doing anything wrong where you were riding?
I was riding in the left-hand wheel track of the left lane.
He believes the distance rule trial is making Queensland roads safer.
I think for the most part the law is successful.
Motorists have to keep a metre between themselves and bikes in 60 zones and 1.5 metres in areas above 60 kilometres per hour, even if it means crossing unbroken centre lines.
Some people are really angry, most people are pretty accepting, and that's because of the good state of where cycling is today.
Police have charged more than 70 motorists, but say it's not an easy law to enforce.
The person has to be willing to give evidence themselves, then we have to find the offender. So it's a complex investigation. It's not simply, oh, that's a video, we can take action from that.
He says more riders than drivers have been caught breaking road rules in the past 2 years. The RACQ believes motorists are getting the message.
I think enforcement will always be received with some form of resistance, whereas if you change people's thinking over time, you get more positive thinking around keeping the road safe for everybody.
The 2-year trial will finish next month. The information will then be independently analysed before the results are released later this year. Christina Harrison, ABC News.
The safety of cyclists on our roads is being taken more seriously, with New South Wales the latest state to tackle overtaking laws. Queensland was the first jurisdiction to test the 1 metre rule, and while its effectiveness is still being evaluated, both cycling and motoring groups are saying authorities must properly enforce the laws. Christina Harrison reports from Brisbane.
If it wasn't caught on camera, what happens next might seem hard to believe. The car gets dangerously close to the bike, then the rider hits the road. Other drivers pull over and tell him to get up and off the roadway. He lashes out at the person who he believes deliberately knocked him off his bike.
I'm allowed to be on the road, I'm allowed to be in the lane.
It's been more than 4 years since it happened, but the day is still fresh in Sean Harrison's mind.
I just remember lying there just in absolute pain and agony, so I still get a bit emotional about it.
He broke his back and suffered nerve damage to one leg. The driver wasn't charged and police weren't shown the video at the time, but the former competition cyclist did receive compensation. Were you doing anything wrong where you were riding?
I was riding in the left-hand wheel track of the left lane.
The experience has left him emotionally scarred. Do you still ride?
Not on the road.
But he does believe the distance or split rule is making it safer for those who choose to ride among traffic.
I think for the most part the law is successful.
Advocates say the split rule has worked overseas, but it's been controversial and slow to roll out here.
We started in 2009 and last year we had our first state in South Australia actually put that into legislation. So it's been a long journey, but that is a really well recognised message throughout Australia now.
The foundation Simon Gillett started honours his late wife Amy, an Olympic cycling champion who was hit by a car and killed while riding in Germany.
70% of cyclists in Queensland feel safer, and we know that 2/3 of people in Queensland support that legislation.
The Queensland trial started almost 2 years ago and is being independently evaluated, with the results due to be released later this year.
The whole aim of this is to make our roads safer.
Instead of just keeping the vaguely described safe distance, motorists have to leave a metre between themselves and bikes in 60 zones and 1.5 metres in areas above 60 kilometres per hour, even if it means sometimes crossing unbroken centre lines.
We, like many others, had an apprehension about whether it was actually the right answer. Would police embrace it? Would the community embrace it? And would it actually make a difference for the sorts of drivers who are probably causing the trouble?
Do you think that it's worked?
We feel that there's been no doubt that everybody's talking bikes. Some people are really angry, most people are pretty accepting, and that's because of the good state of where cycling is today.
Dave Sharp from Safe Cycling Australia says he's disappointed police haven't caught more drivers breaking the rule.
We don't expect to see thousands upon thousands of motorists fined under the new rule, but we expect to see the odd one or two, given that we know there are multiple close calls daily.
I understand from time to time that people might get frustrated with that, but we can't put a matter before the court that we can't prosecute and have a high degree of success.
Queensland Police have charged more than 70 motorists since the trial started, but admit it hasn't always been easy.
That doesn't mean it's impossible to enforce, but it is difficult.
Mike Keating from the Road Policing Command says while riders are encouraged to make complaints and offer up video footage if they have it, there's no guarantee a matter will make it to court.
The rule requires a commitment by the persons involved to a metre or a 1.5 metre gap, but people can claim relief from that because of the provisions of the law in terms of an honest belief that they thought they'd given a metre.
The number of cyclists killed has dropped from 22 in the 2 years before the trial to 16 since.
It's an encouraging trend.
Steve Spalding from motoring body RACQ says more drivers are getting the message.
I think enforcement will always be received with some form of resistance, whereas if you change people's thinking over time, you get more positive thinking around keeping the road safe for everybody.
The trial in New South Wales began with a protest. Cyclists there now face the same fines as drivers if they break the law. In Queensland, police have booked more riders than motorists in the past 2 years.
You know, matters of failing to stop at red lights, stop signs, failing to give way.
If you want to be considered a legitimate road user, then I think the penalties for disobeying the road laws should apply no matter what sort of vehicle that you're on.
Cycling and motoring groups agree the success of the distance rule will depend on continued awareness campaigns and a crackdown on those who repeatedly break the law. Victoria, Western Australia and the Northern Territory are yet to commit to the concept, but lobbyists agree it's only a matter of time.
I'd like to think that within a space of a couple of years we would have that national.
Sean Harrison believes the metre rule is the way forward and will help protect riders.
If they hit the cyclist, there must be a reason why. They must not have been following, the laws.
Bike riding is booming. It's not going to go away. We've got to face facts. We've got to work out how to harmonise and compromise our positions so we can share roads.